Meow meow. Chapter 14. Find Your Rock. Rosa Acuna was a young mother of 2 children. After getting pregnant with her 3rd child, she consulted her doctor about her then 6 to 8 week pregnancy and health complication caused by a kidney disorder. According to Rosa, she asked the abortionist if there was a baby in there, and she said he responded by saying, "Don't be stupid, it's only blood." In court documents, the doctor would say he didn't remember exactly what he told Rosa, but he admitted that it was likely he said that the 7-week pregnancy is not a living human being, and that her baby was just tissue at this time. Her doctor performed the abortion 3 days later. Back at home, Rosa experienced vaginal bleeding and went to the emergency room. The nurse told her she had the remains of her baby inside her, and she would need an operation to extract it from her uterus. That's when Rosa realized her first trimester pregnancy matter was not a blood clot or a bunch of cells. It was a human baby. Our live-action team had already established that Planned Parenthood was willing to disregard statutory rape and accept donations offered by a racist donor for the specific purpose of killing black children. Based on what we learned from Rosa's case, we decided to expose another lie that many abortion facilities tell women. Just as Rosa's doctor had done, we knew that abortionists regularly dehumanized their victims. They had to in order to justify the bloodshed. Planned Parenthood presented itself to the world as a reliable provider of women's health care. So reliable, in fact, that it merited the hundreds of millions of dollars taxpayers poured into its coffers each year. We wanted to document the lies that Planned Parenthood told women like Rosa in its counseling sessions. Naming the investigation the Rosa Acuna Project, we sent our undercover investigators to clinics in several states. Each investigator claimed to be considering an abortion for herself, but wanted accurate medical information first, especially about how developed her preborn baby was. In Appleton, Wisconsin, clinic staff claimed that a 10-week-old baby in the womb doesn't yet have a heartbeat. In fact, a baby's heart starts beating at about 3 weeks into pregnancy. In Milwaukee, a clinic staffer insisted that a 6-week-old fetus had no arms, no legs, no heart, no head, no brain. None of that was true. The staffer also lied to make adoption sound more difficult than it is and urged the woman to have an abortion as soon as possible. In Indianapolis, our investigator, claiming to be 10 weeks pregnant, asked the clinic worker when her baby's heart would begin to beat. The worker answered, "It's around, I think the 8th or the 9th week that you can hear the heartbeat. It's not a baby, it's a fetus, not like a person." Repeatedly, Planned Parenthood staff would attempt to dehumanize preborn children to encourage would-be clients to have an abortion. Dealing with the darkness we were uncovering drove me to a deeper spiritual life. I tried to make time every day to pray, reflect on my experiences in my journal, and read the Bible. In between the travel, the investigations, my classes at UCLA, and the regular media interviews and speeches, I felt torn inside. I had made great friends at UCLA. I was dating, and I loved my dorm mates. I didn't feel lonely, but I also felt a desire to grow as a person. I knew that to keep up with my own activism, I had to become stronger. I needed to be more disciplined. I needed to spend more time in prayer. I needed to strengthen my moral compass and character. Every day, as I attempted to continue the work, I felt my weaknesses always before me. I knew I needed more help. I wanted to grow in my leadership abilities, and more important, in my spiritual life, and so I began looking for those who could guide me. During this time, I was also bouncing around from church to church looking for guidance in the community. I already believed that God was real, that He loved me, that I was made in His image. I believed that Christ was God in human flesh, that He had taken on our human nature in order to heal and redeem it so we could participate in eternal life with Him. I was a Christian, to be sure, but how was I to really follow Christ? What did it mean to become a disciple? How did discipleship integrate with my activism, work, school, friendships, family? And how compatible was my desire to be totally devoted to ending abortion with my desire to also, one day, be married? Like many college students, I struggled to find a suitable rhythm for my life. Although committed to making a difference with my pro-life work, I was not sure how to make the best decisions or how to make the progress I wanted to make. I was juggling the usual stresses of classwork and dating with the unusual stresses of planning and executing national investigations, fundraising, building a nonprofit, and traveling to do media and give speeches on the pro-life cause. For all the movement in my life, I was starving for direction. I wanted to become the best person I could be, but I did not know how. I did know, however, that if my heart was not rooted in a power greater than myself, in God, who was the way, the truth, and the life, I would always struggle to find healing for myself, let alone find the strength I needed to help repair the brokenness in the world around me. I prayed that the Holy Spirit would guide me to the people who could help me. I started exploring local churches. I checked out a traditional Lutheran church and an evangelical church, then and a movie theater. I also sampled different Christian clubs and Bible study groups on campus. But as I studied the theology they taught and learned more about the discipleship they offered, I desired more. I weighed their teaching against what the Bible taught through the lens of the wisdom of the early church leaders and some of the greatest thinkers of Christendom over the past 2,000 years. I had grown up reading the church fathers and doctors of the church because my dad included their writings as part of our homeschool curriculum. Thanks to my mother's Latin classes throughout high school, which, next to math, were among my least favorite. I had practiced translating articles from Thomas Aquina's Summa Theologica in and out of Latin. I had begun studying Roman Catholicism alongside my dad since in the early days of our Catholic bookstore trips, but still had many unanswered questions. Then one Saturday night, a girlfriend said to me, "Want to go to Mass with me tomorrow at this women's center near campus?" Not having any other plans, I said, "Sure." And that Sunday morning, I woke up 20 minutes before the service, pulled on some semi-dressy clothes, and scrambled the half-mile or so to an elegant house on a corner in Westwood. I met my friend outside, and we rang the doorbell together. Someone buzzed us in, and we climbed a flight of stairs to a small, light-flooded chapel perched above the home's living room. At the front of the room stood an ornate altar, set against a painting of Jesus and his mother Mary. The walls of the chapel were set with small, stained-glass windows that looked out onto the street. I was surprised to see only women in the small pews, many of them in their 30s or older, all dressed neatly and professionally. At the time, I knew I had much to learn about Catholic theology and the Mass, but I was impressed by the intentionality and sacredness of it all. I knew enough to know that what Protestants often call discipleship or mentorship, Catholics called spiritual direction. I turned to a woman in the back of the chapel and asked, "Is there anyone here who can give me spiritual direction?" The woman, whose name was Tessa, asked what spiritual direction meant to me. As she recalls, I answered, "I want to be holy like the Blessed Mother. I want to be holy like Mother Teresa. I want to be holy like my own mother." "Yes," Tessa said, without skipping a beat. "I can see you this week if you'd like." I was surprised. She answers as though she had expected my question. I found out later that this generous woman, who would become a lifelong friend, had devoted her life to serving and mentoring others. Rather than getting married, Tessa found her vocation in Opus Dei, an institution within the Catholic Church devoted to helping people find God in their daily lives. She had made a pledge to remain celibate and unattached to a family of her own, so that she could be wholly devoted to evangelizing and providing spiritual guidance. At our first meeting, we sat down in a small room next to the house's formal dining room. "What would you like to get out of our meetings?" Tessa asked. "I want to become a better woman," I said. "Got it." She smiled. "Well, what does this better woman look like to you?" This question led to a long discussion about the women and men I admired and why. I told her I wanted to do whatever it took to grow. "Do you want me to be a straight shooter with you?" Tessa asked. "Yes," I answered. "You can tell me anything." "I have some immediate advice," she said, "but you may not like it. Are you sure?" "Please tell me," I said. "If you want to grow as a woman, you shouldn't dress like that." I felt a pang of embarrassment, and I looked down at what I was wearing. flip-flops, cropped yoga pants, and a tank top with my sports bra showing. No, I wasn't going to the gym. I was just going to a class and a meeting with Tessa. I realized instantly what Tessa was communicating. Dressing respectfully wasn't just for speaking events. It was for everyone. Everywhere. You're absolutely right, I said. I'd never taken time. Sorry. I'd never taken the time to think about it. It was the first of many areas for improvement that, with Tessa's guidance, I would take time to think about carefully. Thank God for Tessa. Thank God for straight shooters. Over the next several months, the light is too bright. Over the next several months, Tessa and I discussed my goals and my habits. We talked about all the responsibilities I was juggling with, school and live action, as well as my dating and personal relationships. Working together, we made a plan for my personal growth. I wrote down the concrete steps I would take in my day-to-day life to grow as a student, a daughter, an activist, and a Christian. In some, we strategized how I could be intentional about becoming a better woman. Tessa and I met once a week. She taught me that the routines and habits of my daily life provided the foundation for my quest to be better. If I neglected to improve these routines, I could not become who I was meant to be. She convinced me that the good I did for my cause was directly linked to the good I did every day. It mattered how I spent the precious time I had been given. One subject we discussed was virtue, a concept that is sadly vanishing in contemporary culture. Tessa said, virtue is like a handkerchief. You pick up one corner of it and the rest of it follows. In other words, if I worked on one virtue, the other virtues would be enhanced by the effort. Given that I am a procrastinator by nature and easily distracted, we decided that it would be wisest for me to do the hardest thing on my schedule first each day. With Tessa as my kindly drill sergeant, spiritual boot camp had begun. As my willpower and self-discipline grew, we added new goals. I reviewed my day every night to see what I had done right and where I had fallen short. I practiced thanking God for all the gifts He had given me, and went to Mass daily. I increased my prayer time to 30 minutes each day. I studied the Catholic Church's teachings more seriously and took theology classes from a wise priest named Father Paul, who also became a spiritual guide and father to me, as well as a source of great wisdom. A year and a half later, I was received into the Catholic Church. The changes Tessa and Father Paul helped me make may not have been obvious to the rest of the world, but I sensed the change within. I was working on my inner virtue, the quiet things I did every day that nobody else may have noticed. Inner virtue is not flashy, and even the smallest changes take hard work. To paraphrase legendary UCLA basketball coach John Wooden, the true test of character is what someone does when no one is watching. No matter how impressive or important our external contributions to the world, none of it matters if our souls are not right before God, and mentors can help guide us there. Mentors get to know us personally, so they can speak directly into our lives. A mentor gets in the ring with us and teaches us how to fight. We can learn a tremendous amount from the examples of our heroes and through interactions with our friends and community, but a mentor goes deeper. At our request, a mentor challenges us, guides our progress, and holds us accountable. A mentor not only helps us monitor our progress, but also encourages and inspires us when our progress lags. We cannot expect a mentor to just show up. We have to ask for mentorship. We have to seek it out. We have to explain why we need help and open ourselves to the help a good mentor can provide. We also need to be prepared to study and learn. While they are a tremendous source of wisdom, mentors aren't there to answer all our life questions. Making decisions for us is not part of their job description. They don't instruct us on what to fight for. They don't tell us which job to take, which person to date, or whom to marry. But they do help us discern what God is guiding us to do. They help us grow in knowledge, in virtue, and prayer, so we can better follow where Christ is leading us. To ground ourselves for our mission, we have to find our rock, the anchor for our faith. A good mentor can lead us there.